your flesh and blood.
Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, new paradigms for a new world where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here 9 times a week, Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We are on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, as well as YouTube, where you can watch these conversations. I hope that you will take time to subscribe and click notifications so that when a new conversation is posted, you'll be notified and you'll be able to tune in, listen in, and learn, and be entertained and inspired. A reminder that Choices, which is my book, 5 Steps for Life, it's available on Amazon.com in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle with Audible, soon to be released. We also ask that if you can support the work that we are doing financially, we do have a PayPal account. It is there for your security as well as ours. And when they ask for an email address to whom you're sending, please go to richard@richarddugan.com. That's the email address. If you go to richarddugan.com, there is also a link directly to PayPal so that you can send us whatever support you can. And we thank you to those who have helped and to those who will help. We also ask that you take time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still, small voice. And with that, we now take you to our very special interview and guest here on Tell Me Your Story. And welcome to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I am Reverend Dr. D. Richard Dugan, and we have a returning guest who is here to share with us some wonderful aspects to what we've been talking about on so many different programs, including her first appearance. Her name is Shanti Mayberry, and her book is entitled Come Home to Nature. We hope that you will also access her website, which is shantimayberry.com. We'll be linked to that website. And Shanti, thank you so much for being here on the program. I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Oh, and so am I, Richard.
It is something that I've talked about quite often, and I use the phrase that nature is our greatest teacher. And in order for us to be good students, it seems to me that it takes more than just listening to nature. We need to connect. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today, isn't it?
Yes, yes. And connection is not just mentally appreciating nature, it's about a heart communion. So we are coming into a deep merger with nature, and that awakens our own inner nature because we are part of nature's great web of life, even though our culture um, separates us because of its mindset. And so we need to make a conscious effort to return to nature's embrace. And it's a wonderful journey that I talk about in my book. And there are so many different ways of accessing nature. We don't have to go far away to some exotic place. We can simply step outside and begin to notice what nature is offering us every single day.
It has been said by some in metaphysics that we actually affect nature, and more specifically, for example, weather, in that the way it's described, when you start taking a look at the various weather events that are going on around the globe, whether it's a hurricane, whether it's heavy snow, whether it's heat, which is, of course, as we're conversing, a real big issue going on around the globe today, these days here in the Northern Hemisphere specifically, because this is our summer, whereas the Southern it's their winter. And the conversation surrounds what's going on inside of me. Let's say if I want to use the example of a hurricane. What hurricanes are going on inside of me? Do we have that level of influence, and maybe not all the time, but at times, where we kind of bring about what we're experiencing? As the phrase is, we create our own reality. Is there some truth to that?
I would say that we co-create
Hmm.
our reality, not that we just egoically create it, but that it is a co-creation between nature and ourselves.
Okay.
And in terms of all the weathers we're experiencing, I um, I think one of the main reasons we are going into an extreme climate chaos is because we are so separated from nature, and therefore we feel um, that she can be exploited. And if we can change our perspective on nature and feel that she is in fact sacred and all life is sacred, it will be much harder to exploit her resources for our very wanton desires. So the separation from nature, I think, is a major cause of climate chaos. And in terms of the different weathers, I think that, it really is a warning sign
Mhm.
from nature that we need to change our ways and come back into a harmonious relationship with her.
Mm. I know that there will be those who would love to use science or the lack thereof to prove or disprove the things that are going on these days. But the reality is there are cycles. I mean, that's just the way our world is, the material world is. It's cyclical. At the same time, I often say, and this kind of goes to what you're talking about, I don't care about the science. We need to clean up our home, period. And that's not to say that this is an awful place. Don't get me wrong. I mean, this is paradise. This is an incredible, diverse planet. It's amazing the things that we find, whether it be in environments or in the creatures. I love when I see these documentaries of people diving to these incredible depths where it's almost completely black or dark, and they flip on a light and there's actually life down there at the level of the pressure of the water. We couldn't survive without a special device, a pressurized bubble, if you will. But here are these creatures down there at those levels, those depths, swimming around, living. It's amazing what we have on this planet. And I want to talk a little bit, or have you talk a little bit about some of the highlights of your journey into your experiences with natural or the nature, your nature reunion, as you share in your book.
Yes. Well, I'd like to share a couple of ways of connecting to nature that are
Mhm.
incredibly simple, but open the door to wonder and awe. And
Hmm.
you don't need really to go far for them. And one is to go outside in the early evening and sit somewhere comfortable and listen to the sounds of the crickets. If you are somewhere where crickets are singing at night, it's an incredible experience to use the cricket singing as a meditation. And the steady cadence of their trills calms the nervous system, awakens this stream of bliss, and connects you to the amazing chorus of crickets. And these are actually male crickets who are trying to attract a female by rubbing their little wings together and making this amazing sound. But it calms the nervous system, focuses the mind, and opens you to an evening of blissful communion. And it's very simple. I did it last night, and I think I'm going to do it every night this summer. So
Hmm.
that's one very simple way of connecting in a very heartful manner to nature. And another one that's easy is if you have a recliner or a zero gravity chair, um, you can relax in that at night and look up at the heavens. And the
Mm.
fact of staring into space releases the mind, releases all the busyness of the day, and opens your mind body to the wonders of the cosmos. So, those are two very simple practices that you can do in the evening uh, to remind yourself that you're part of this amazing web of life full of wonders, as you say, Richard.
Yeah, it is one of those things where I sit out in the morning. I get up at 6:30, make my coffee, go out onto the front porch, and sit in my little plastic Adirondack chair. And sometimes I'll listen to a book or listen to music, but sometimes I will just sit there and listen to the sounds of nature. I can hear because I didn't know this at the time. I do now. Squirrels actually make noises. We have a flock of blue jays. One of them, the biggest one, we call Bob, and Bob is a big squawker. Oh my goodness, he makes a lot of noise. But then there's his. I'm going to say his mate, most likely a female, smaller. She makes her own little noises too. Her name is Bernice, and the squirrel that we have here that we will give sometimes pistachios and other things to, but we also make sure that they continue to forage in the natural world as well. His name's Sebastian, and we have a bunch of other little birds. We put out a bird feeder for them, and they manage to empty the thing every day. So I don't fill it every day, maybe once a week, and I say, look, you guys are going crazy with this stuff, and so I've got to find a way to slow them down. But I don't think that's possible, and that's okay. But we enjoy having all of these animals and listening to them, and then hearing the breeze through the pine trees up here. So I'm doing that at sunrise or thereabouts, and as we go further into the fall, heading towards the fall, it will be a sunrise and darker and so forth. So I'm looking forward to that as well as the even cooler temperatures. I don't mind sitting outside in the 40-degree temperatures as the breeze is blowing. I'll wear a hoodie, that kind of thing, and it is just it's almost indescribable, the sensation of hearing everything that is out there in nature. Yes, occasionally a car does go by. That is true, but that's okay. They're not. We don't have heavy traffic, thank goodness. And it's really really very nice. And then people are going by. Some of them are jogging. Some of them are taking their dogs for a walk. And good morning, good morning. And it's nice to let them know, hey, we're here. And we haven't made that many acquaintances yet, but we haven't even been here a year yet.
Yes, that's a wonderful way of greeting the morning, and I have a morning ritual that I do as well.
Hmm.
I think it is important to go outside in the morning before you get pulled into the digital virtual world, to go outside and be in the real world. Nature is our real world. It's not virtual. It's
Yeah.
our real life.
Hmm.
And to greet the day, to attune ourselves to the energies of the day, doing a stretch, or, I thank all my plants on my garden deck for co-breathing with me,
Mm.
and just acknowledge the four directions. And then I feel I have come into the day
Mm.
in a very particular way. And then I might go onto my computer. But I always go outside first. And I think
Yeah.
that's really important.
Yeah.
So we remember that nature is our larger life web. We're not so confined to our little human-centric world, which can totally obsess us and drain our vitality. So it's very important that we remember we're part of nature's greater web of life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're talking with Shanti Mayberry. Shanti Mayberry has her latest book, and we're hoping that you will get a copy of it as well. And it is called Coming Home to Nature. The website, of course, is shantimayberry.com, ShantiMayberry.com. We'll be linked to that website as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. Shanti Mayberry, I want to ask you about. We'll get into some more practices as well. That is a wonderful thing as well. But I want to talk a little bit about the connection that is so important. I mean, we've kind of established that, and our connecting ourselves deeply, becoming more aware, of course, and connecting to the wisdom and healing power of Mother Nature and our bodies. Seems to me that our intuition is sort of that ethereal, if you will, conduit. You kind of put it that way. What do you think in terms of accessing what we need to be able to heal our bodies and access the wisdom of the universe, shall we say, or the wisdom of Mother Nature, Mother Earth, in terms of living a really fulfilling, a full life, a life of purpose, and so forth? What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, nature is alive and sentient. It's not dead. The planet is not dead. She
Mhm.
is a living, intelligent being. So everything is infused with spirit, for
Mm.
one thing, and that changes our perspective on nature. She's no longer a dead thing in the background. She is a living, breathing entity that we're part of. And of course, our own bodies are nature. We forget.
Mhm.
Nature is not outside of us. Our bodies are nature, and we have evolved with Mother Earth for millions of years. We're part of her body. Um, and so it's reconnecting with nature is really remembering. It's remembering that we have been and always will be part of her living body. We have no separate, independent existence. We are completely dependent on her for everything that we have. So we need to remember that. We need to be grateful. And um, becoming more reciprocal, I think, is also very important in reestablishing this right relationship with nature that will bring us so much joy. It's not just a moral obligation that we have to be caretakers of the planet, but it's an essential expression of who we are.
Mm.
So, all of these different ways and means of reconnecting with nature are really practices of remembering and
Mm.
bringing forth our own ancestral wisdom. And as you um, mentioned, Richard, nature is wise. So tapping into her intelligence is very important for for us to make good decisions. And one of the things that happens when we commune deeply enough with nature is that it changes our brainwave. So we will go more into a theta brainwave, which is
Mhm.
the resonance of the earth. The earth has a resonance, it has a heartbeat, which is 7.8 um, hertz cycles.
Mhm.
And that is 7.8 is the theta brainwave.
Mm.
And so connecting to nature changes our brainwave. It can also open us to the uh, calming effects of the parasympathetic nervous system, the involuntary nervous system, which is nature within us.
Mm.
So those two things can happen as a result of deep communion with nature. We change our brainwave, we slow down our uh, nervous system to the parasympathetic. So we're resetting our nervous system and it helps us regulate ourselves.
Hmm.
Plus, the theta awakens the intuition, as you mentioned. So nature is helping us become wiser uh, in making good decisions.
It has been said by some they can actually, if they find the right place on the planet, they can hear that hum of the of Mother Earth. And I would venture that maybe if you can't find a quiet place, but at least a still place, maybe you can even feel it resonating through you, through me, and so forth. Um, that
Yeah.
that would be an extraordinary experience to be that sensitive, to be that aware and awake, to be able to hear and or feel the vibration of Mother Earth.
Yes. One of the things that I have read about is called the Schumann's resonance, and it is the vibration of the earth that we just spoke of, the 7.8
Mhm.
hertz cycles. Um, and, that does awaken our intuition. Uh, and laying on the ground, I've found you can even lay on the floor inside if you want and really feeling your body sinking down into the embrace of Mother Earth can be so powerful and can really um, assist the body in feeling that deep vibration of the earth.
I know this is going to be a difficult question to answer because I'm asking of a specific instance, but is there one instance or maybe a series of experiences you've had throughout your lifetime that have been profound for you that actually you were fully aware that it was actually changing you? That experience turned your life in a direction that maybe intellectually you never would have expected. But boy, wow, I love this direction I'm going. It's how I feel right now, where my wife and I live. I mean, we, in a manner of speaking, got cast out of our place there in Santa Barbara. But I gotta tell you, I have never felt as alive now as I do with what we're doing and where we are and who we are, and obviously these programs that I'm now doing on this subject of Mother Nature and our true connection to her.
Yes. Well, I think one of the most remarkable experiences I had in nature was a summer in 1970 where my boyfriend and I, from graduate school, English grad school in New York, we decided to spend the summer on a little island called Nantucket, which was at the time very undeveloped. It's off the coast of Massachusetts. And we went there and spent the entire summer in this remote little cottage at the end of the island. And no, we had no neighbors. No one was around us. We were just in the wilds, the gentle wilds
Mhm.
of Nantucket. And we had no radio, we had no TV, we had no newspapers, we had nothing to connect us to the world. So we were basically just in nature. And I decided for the summer I was going to explore the island on bicycle and go to all the different ecosystems and
Mm.
just learn about the island through its flora. So I spent the entire summer eh, journeying on bicycle all over Nantucket, going to these different ecosystems like bogs and marshes and sand dunes and meadows and so on, and acquainting myself with all of the wildflowers. It was a completely different way of learning. I was out of time. I was in nature's time, which is very freeing if you can do that, to go away for a few days and just not have any devices, not put away your watch and get back into nature's time, which is the cycles of light and dark
Mm.
on. Um, and that totally oriented my life in a new way. And I decided this is how I want to live, in deep communion with nature. And that started my entire journey of um, studying nature reconnection and traveling all over the world and learning more and more ways of reuniting with nature, learning more practices and so on. But at the end of that summer, I had a huge collection of wildflowers. I think there were about 110 wildflowers, and
Mm.
it was just an amazing vacation, the best that I've ever had. I highly recommend going away for a few days if you can, and just being with nature. No devices, um, nothing but you and Mother Earth, and it will transform your life.
It's fascinating. Shanti Mayberry, my guest, shantimayberry.com is the website. And of course, the book, once again, is Coming Home to Nature as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. Reverend Dr. D and Shanti Mayberry, and I want to ask you about, I don't know if this is a practice necessarily. I want to get into some more of them, but the thought occurred to me, another wonderful practice, and this would be actually a nighttime practice. And hopefully you can find a place that does not have a lot of light pollution. And that is because even though we're kind of focused more on Mother Earth, if we were to find a place where we could lay a mat out or one of those wonderful reclining chairs out in the middle of a space where there's a view of the sky, and you lie back and you just peer out into the universe. What in your experience, what has that done for you? Because I know you've done it.
Oh yeah, yeah, star bathing. It's actually star bathing is a thing.
Mm.
There are places where you can they promise dark sky sanctuaries. So you can Google that. There are places where you can go and stay, and they promise you the sky is dark and you will be able to see stars. But yeah, star bathing is an amazing experience. And if on a clear night, if you can lay back and just let your mind go out into the universe. It will disperse and you'll remember your cosmic consciousness, which is the ground of our being. Uh, and it's interesting because the one of the most amazing star bathing experiences I had was on Cape Breton Island, which is off the coast of Nova Scotia. It's in Canada, and I had a place there for a while. But the Milky Way is what's so visible at night, occasionally in Cape Breton, and it's a river of stars, and it's one of the most exquisite experiences of being just bathed in this silvery light. Um, and I had that experience with a friend of mine who was dying of breast cancer. And we laid out on her front porch and just let ourselves go into the Milky Way. And she lost her fear of death. She felt like she was going to go back into the cosmos and join the ancestors whom indigenous people feel are in the stars, right? The
Mhm.
ancestors are starry beings. And just bathing in the light of the Milky Way released her from the fear of death. And it was so moving. We both wept, and she died a few days later. So I can just say that that was an incredible experience. But the indigenous people do feel that the stars are alive, they're starry beings, and they hold the ancestral spirits.
I had an experience with my wife. Shortly after we had met, we took a trip up to a place called Woods Canyon Lake in Arizona, in northern Arizona, about 7,500 feet. Now, we live right now at 5,700 feet, a little over a mile. Well, we were up there, and your description of the Milky Way for me was exceedingly profound because only 2 years earlier, almost to the month or to the day even, it was, I think, March of that year. Um, I looked up and I saw that incredible river, and I had never seen it like that before. Oh my heavens. And I had just had a lens implant 2 years earlier. So my vision was greatly improved. 2200 down to, or I should say up to 2080, 2050 with lenses. Oh my heavens. It was almost as if I could read by the light that was coming off of the Milky Way. It was just incredible. I also co-host a program called Skyview with a friend of mine, Dr. Sky Steve Cates, and we talk about astronomy, space, aviation, and weather. And he always gives us at the end of every program what we're going to see in the skies over the Great Southwest and over the Central Coast and so forth. And I have not really sat to watch a meteor shower. That's got to be something pretty spectacular. I'm sure you have had that experience where you're sitting there and all of a sudden you see these things flashing, and I don't know, maybe you're making wishes because it's but that's the thing you do when you see as they call them, shooting stars.
Yes. Well, we tend to forget that we are part of the Milky Way, right? That's our home galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's very humbling also to look up at the sky and realize we're just this tiny, tiny little speck, beautiful blue dot in this great, great universe. And I find it always amazing to contemplate the fact that our biosphere, the oxygen, the atmosphere that envelops the earth, that enables everything to live here,
Mm-hmm.
it extends for 5 miles out and stops.
Mm.
You know? So we we live in a very, very unique place, and it's important, I think, to recognize that. And looking up into the heavens at night or during the day reminds us that we are a tiny speck in this vast, vast solar system. Um, so yeah, I think star bathing, sky gazing in the day, you can do that as well.
Yeah.
Just lying back on a recliner or laying on the ground and watch the clouds go by. And so
Yeah.
your thoughts in this meditation are like the clouds. You let them go, you don't cling. And the sky is your essential self. So that's a very, very simple meditation. It's actually a Tibetan Buddhist meditation to remind us of the sky mind, right? And then the
Mm-hmm.
contents of the mind are like the clouds floating by.
We're talking with Shanti Mayberry. ShantiMayberry.com is the website, and her book is called Coming Home to Nature as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. Shanti, I want to ask you a little bit about something else that kind of occurred to me, and maybe this is also a practice. One of the terms that is used is called grounding. And I know that in a wonderful, beautiful song by John Denver called The Wind, where he refers to Mother Earth and Father Sky, if you will. And obviously, focusing on the wind and the various elements therein in terms of just a nice breeze that's flowing through that brings the fragrances, maybe of a field of flowers, or maybe the hay if you live in the Middle West or out in the plains and so forth. Sometimes it gets a little tumultuous, could turn into heavy winds or a tornado, whatever the case might be. And I know for example, just outside of Palm Springs, they have a wind farm where they have all these wind turbines because the wind is always blowing there. I always found that fascinating that people like to criticize these different forms of alternative energy and say, well, you know, the sun isn't shining all the time. Well, we understand that. And the wind isn't blowing all the time. Yes, but there are places where it kind of is, because just the geography alone induces the movement of air, that kind of thing. Um, but what about this aspect of, in addition to what we've already talked about, tapping into the feeling between the earth and this one practice called grounding, where you actually physically stand on the ground? If it's dirt, maybe it's grass, that kind of thing. It doesn't do any good if it's pavement or if you've got a deck overhead and that kind of thing. So you need to try to find a place. We're fortunate we have 3 lakes that we can go to with a nice bank that we could stand on right there. But what about the in between, the earth and the sky, the movement of the air, and beginning the process of really integrating with it and that flow of the air as it moves through, and maybe even contemplating? And I love when people talk about this, they bring it up on this program occasionally. The fact that the air that we are breathing, the molecules that we take in and then exhale, have been around for millennia, and that we've been sharing it, not just with each other, you and me, if we're, let's say, in the same room, what have you, but with generations gone by. And that connection that we share.
Yes, well, breath is sacred, isn't it? Uh,
Mm,
I mean, if you look at the word breath, it contains the words earth and heart, and beat, and so we're listening to the earth heartbeat in a way with this um, the cadence of breathing. So yes, we're breathing in and out with all the plants and trees and also the bacteria in the ocean.
mm.
We forget that so much of our oxygen is produced by the plankton in the ocean, over 50%.
I didn't know that. I never even connected the waters of the oceans. I always thought it was primarily the trees.
I know, it's fascinating. And actually, all life started from cyanobacteria in the ocean several, it's like 1.5 billion years ago. Just this little bacteria
Mm,
that had evolved to photosynthesize. And it's that little bacteria over millions and millions of years that developed the oxygen, which enabled the whole planet to birth life. So it all came from this little bacteria in the
mm,
ocean. But it is important to remember that so much of our oxygen comes from the plankton in the ocean, not just the trees and plants.
mm.
And so, um, in the indigenous traditions, they honor the wind as a spiritual being. And I love the practice of opening the windows. I mean, if the weather is not too inclement, you open the windows in the morning and open the doors and you greet the air. You greet the wind spirit that's coming and refreshing your house. So I have that also as a little morning practice that I do. Um, but it is, it's a wonderful meditation, very simple, as we're breathing, to remember that we're in this amazing co-breathing communion with all of nature. And it is like love. It's a love fest, right?
Mm.
The breath is it can be experienced as a loving field between us and the rest of nature.
Makes me think of the work of one Lynn McTaggart, who wrote the book The Field, as well as people like James Lipton and Greg Braden, going back a number of years, although many of them are still teaching and sharing their insights. I am curious as to and of course, I'm not speaking of the source of information that you are gathering, but in terms of, is most of what you share, not only in your books, but I'm sure in your talks, when you share with people in groups and what have you, is it mostly intuitive, or what about your own personal studies? Is there one or several individuals who have helped to influence you and share their insights that you now pass on to others as well, that is sort of the font of wisdom and knowledge that you have available, not only through your book Coming Home to Nature, but again, through other sources as well?
Well, Carl Jung has been a great mentor for me most of my life since I was 16. And he, of course, um, had a retreat in nature on this island called Bollingen, which was separate from his main house in Küsnacht, Switzerland.
Mm.
And he built it. He built this stone tower that he periodically lived in. And he said that without his piece of earth, he could never have done his work. And
Mm.
so he lived very, very simply, a lot of the time, close to nature. He cooked his own food over an open hearth, and he pumped water and cut wood, all of those basic human activities. And he felt like his connection to nature was essential for doing his work, and his work was phenomenal, very transformative in the whole field of psychology. So he was an important mentor. And then also Eckhart Tolle, who repeatedly says that nature helps us meditate. Nature is already in a state of meditation, and she's helping to teach us stillness and presence.
Mm.
Those two resources have been very, very important to me.
What about the in particular, because this is where I live and I know you, and although you've listed a number of places you've been, you seem to have gotten around in your life, in your lifetime. But what about in this country, in this part of the world, the Native American connection to nature? It just seems as though, sadly, and I'm glad that I found out through DNA testing uh, how large a portion, percentage wise, of my DNA is Native American, primarily Southern Arizona or Southern United States and Mexico in particular. Because I used to shy away. I didn't want to interfere. I didn't want to interfere or impose upon those teachings and that knowledge because it's not mine. And then I come to find out, oh, guess what? It is mine too. But how about for those of us here? And I interviewed a Shumash elder not too long ago who basically said that the people, and this is when I was still living in Santa Barbara, who live in that region of the country, the Central Coast, they are the new Shumash. And he says, and you, Richard, you are part of the new Shumash, carrying on the traditions. So what about that level of influence, whether it be direct or I don't know, you could say, I suppose, through osmosis of sorts, just by being here and soaking in the vibe.
Well, we're all indigenous. I mean, at some
Mm,
point, we
hmm
all have indigenous ancestors. And I think the indigenous wisdom is dormant in most of us, but it can be activated. And I highly revere indigenous wisdom. I write a lot about it in my book.
hmm
And I was fortunate to have a go through a 2-year apprentice with the son of a Choctaw medicine man. And so he taught me the old ways and, to revere all of the plants and learn their messages, learn their secrets, learn their healing properties, and to, respectfully gather them with gratitude and to honor the four directions as powerful beings, the forces that control and guide our life. And after the 2-year apprenticeship, I went through a guided peyote trip with a friend of mine, and we did it in the very traditional way. Um, So we had 3 days of fasting and we built a sweat lodge by ourselves. So we at night chanted in the sweat lodge and we kept a journal of what our intentions were for the peyote journey. And then on the day of, we felt very prepared. We ingested a button of the dried peyote, which was very bitter and tasted horrible. And so um, but we had been warned that we would throw up, and
Yeah.
that was considered the cleansing of the
Mm,
ego, the
mhm,
release of the human ego, and
mm.
it opened us to the to experiencing the sort of the raw wisdom of nature. And it was an incredible experience of being guided by peyote, and witnessing, seeing, and feeling part of this incredible field of light and energy, which tied everything together. And to be guided to sit with bees. I lived in the country in Escondido, northeast of San Diego, had 24 acres there. And so I had 6 beehives, and I sat with the beehives and sat with the bees and communed with them. They never stung me. They were all over my body. I was just communing with them and loving them. And I used to be so afraid of bees. And now they were beloved messengers. So that was an incredible experience of plant medicine initiation. But I would say, as a caveat, we don't need to go there. Um, it was just an opportunity that I had, and I feel it's very important if you do want to try that you do it in a sacred way, in a ceremonial way, with a teacher you trust, and that you integrate the experience afterwards. So it's not just a one-off, but it is integrated and transforming for your life.
Absolutely. I know that I watched the DVD on ayahuasca or DMT, and I was intrigued. I have never wanted to take anything that interferes with my ability, so to speak, to be in control. All right. I'm not a heavy drinker. I've never smoked. I've tried marijuana twice in my lifetime. Didn't like it. I can get the same high from a couple of beers. So that's fine. Thank you very much. But when I saw this DVD, and the one experience that they showed was with a gentleman who was sharing what he experienced while under the influence, and he went on and on about how I did this and I went there and and it was just went on for days and days and days and days and so forth. And he says, "How long was I gone?" And they tell him, "You were gone for 10 minutes." And it's like the time construct that we have created is like you want to get rid of it. But that is one experience, or not this gentleman's experience, but the experience in a safe, controlled, facilitated environment. I would want to have that experience. um, I love the books I've read about sages and gurus and avatars who I think it was Ramdas in his book, one of his books, where one of his devotees snuck this, I think LSD or something like that, into his tea, and he just drank it down, right? And there was no effect. But the person who put that in his tea started to have some kind of strange effects. And of course, he says to the devotee, says, "You know, I know that you put that in my tea, and you thought that maybe I would have some very unusual experience, but I'm already where that takes you. I'm already there." So it would have no effect on me. And so I know there are many different ways of raising one's consciousness, and that's one of them, to have those experiences, to know that there's more to life. And by the way, one of the thoughts I had when you were talking about, for example, the Milky Way and this incredible light river of stars made me think of that one picture, which I'm sure you've seen, that they turned the Voyager camera around towards the Earth. And Carl Sagan, that's where he came up with the term the big blue marble. And there's that little tiny, you can barely see it in the picture, but you can. And I also use the term in terms of our lifetime that we're here for less than a puff of smoke. So let's make the most of it. All right. And Shanti Mayberry is going to help us to do that. If you get a copy of her book, and or no, this is not an infomercial. I just encourage you to check this stuff out. Coming Home to Nature. And we will be linked to her website, shantimayberry.com, as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. You know, Shanti, I love these conversations with you and with others who we're trying to go deeper, because what's going on the surface here on the planet, and when I refer to that, I'm talking about civilization and our societies and the way in which we live. That is like, that's not who we really are, and that's not really relevant. I even talk about, for example, where it says in our founding documents, we just, of course, celebrated 250 years under those documents, if you will, where certain things are laid out in the Declaration and the preamble and so forth. And I think about those things like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and in those kinds of things. And I'm not going to say that they're wrong. I'm just going to say, from a higher level, from a more spiritual or metaphysical level, they're irrelevant. They mean nothing. Now, it's because if we start to recognize, as you are sharing with us, our connectedness, not only to each other, but especially to nature, then there is a certain element, and I would love for you to elaborate on this. There's a certain element of servanthood, but it's voluntary, it's conscious, it's intentional. I want to serve. That's what I'm here to do. And in the process, I get to enjoy this place too.
Yes, well, yeah, everything in nature is offering something and receiving something, and um we're part of that flow. And I think, gratitude is extremely important. Uh, Giving thanks for everything that we have in our life, and of course that makes you happier if you
Mhm.
are focused more on being grateful than complaining.
Yeah.
And nature gives us many opportunities to be grateful. Uh, we just have to look for them. So
Yeah.
it's a matter of being consciously um, making conscious effort, being intentional
Yeah.
about uh, connecting to nature and expanding our sense of self. Our sense of self can be so tiny when we're focused on our little problems and our human-centric drama world. But when we access more of nature, our sense of self expands. We have an ecological self, an earth self, and we feel so much better with this more expanded sense of our being. And it also gives us a perspective on these dramas, which seem so important.
Yeah.
They become tinier,
Yeah.
right? And that's very helpful.
Yeah.
In fact, spacing out from our dramas and expanding into the natural world makes it easier to then come back and solve those pesky little problems, because you'll have an expanded consciousness and you'll have tapped into the wisdom of nature. So it makes our human life so much easier
It,
and so much more real, because we are part of nature. We're not separate. And we need to recognize that. Otherwise, we're going to be in very, very big trouble, uh, within a decade because of climate chaos.
yeah. Yeah. And we can change that. I just don't, I'm optimistic. I mean, you talk about 10 years, I'll be close to 80 by then. And, I want to live to be 100. But I want a quality of life, not only in terms of my physical body wanting quality of life, but where I live. And I want to ask you about that from the context. There are many what are referred to as sacred sites around the planet. I come from Arizona, where in particular there is a place called Sedona. We were in Ireland where they have these circles, these stone circles in Ireland. Now, certainly everybody's familiar with the biggest one, the most famous one in Scotland called Stonehenge. But does it really matter if we are at one of these sacred sites or we're just right where we are on the planet in terms of beginning this process of coming home to nature, of reconnecting?
Well, right, you don't have to go to a sacred site. I mean, if you want to jumpstart this sense of being part of nature, you can journey to one of them. We have many here in America. I think Chaco Canyon is one of them, and there are lots of other sacred sites as well. Um, when I lived in England, I was very fascinated by the sacred sites that are there, Stonehenge, Avebury, and the Tor, Glastonbury Tor.
Mm,
So I visited all three of them, and they are incredibly powerful. So the studies say that many of the sacred sites are actually built over underground rivers.
mm,
And so they have an incredible kind of energy that can awaken people and heal them. And hence they became very powerful ceremonial sites for the shifts of seasons. And people still gather at Stonehenge. I had an
hmm
amazing experience at Stonehenge because I bicycled there for 110 miles with a friend. And this many, many years ago when I was in my 20s. Uh, and just being there with thousands of other people and white robed druids was an incredible experience. But you don't have to do that. You know,
Yeah.
every place on earth is sacred. Every place is the holy ground, right? Where we stand is holy ground. But we just have to remember and restore that sense of connectedness.
Mm. That's very important to get to remember that in one sense, yes, we're looking at reconnecting with nature. And yet, at the same time, as we begin this process, to recognize that we have always been connected, it's our consciousness, our conscious intention to be connected to nature. That's really what we are kind of talking about here, and that we can continue to foster that or facilitate that connection and the deepening connection.
Right. And another thing to remember, and this kind of can encourage people to do these practices, is that nature offers so many health benefits. It lowers the cortisol production, it lowers blood pressure, it eases all the stress markers in the body. It enables you to solve problems. It gives you creative inspiration and um, accelerates healing. So there are many, many health benefits that have been studied now for several decades, and they're pretty much off the chart awesome. And so even doctors now are prescribing walking in parks to
Hmm
patients. Uh, so it has reached the medical profession that nature is essential. Nature connection is essential for our well-being. And now there's even a book out called The Indoor Epidemic, which is doing really well. But it's all about how people spend like 95% of their time inside, and it's absolutely affecting everybody's health and creating anxieties and depression
Mm,
because because we've spent most of our time as a species, 99.9% of our time as a species living in the wilderness with nature. And
yeah.
to be so absolutely walled off from her mothering benefits is having a horrendous effect on our well-being.
Yeah. Well, I know that I try to get out of my studio on a regular basis throughout the morning on those days when I have programs that I have to produce and so on and so forth. I'm down here on the first floor. I have my window with a black curtain just to keep the light from being glaring and so forth. But I put a hook on the side there and I move the curtain out of the way so I bring daylight in here. But it's not enough. I want to get upstairs. And if I can get out onto the deck, onto the front porch, even if it's just for a few minutes, it feels really good. I actually co-host a program called Body of Health, and one of the things that we talk about is the two or three things that are recommended is number one, the grounding. Number two, you face like in the morning, for example, if you're up in the morning and the sun is up, you close your eyes and you face the sun and you just take it in for just a few minutes. You don't have to stand there for very long. Taking in the vitamin D, but also that warmth and that energy and so forth. And then, of course, listening to nature, listening to the natural sounds around you. Hopefully you have those. You don't have a bunch of cars flashing by. Last place I'd want to have a house is on a thoroughfare, let me tell you. But I'd find a way. I'd find a way to connect with nature. Shanti Mayberry, I want to thank you so much for sharing with us again here on the program, and I hope that we can call on you in the future to be on this program, and also encourage people to go to your website shantimayberry.com to get a copy of your book, Coming Home to Nature. It's something that we may have you back and we may repeat things, but quite honestly, that's the only way sometimes that we actually make the shift is we hear it over and over and over again. And eventually it sort of sinks in a little bit. And,
Yes,
you
yes.
know,
Repetition is how we learn.
yeah. And it's not rote memorization, ladies and gentlemen. It's through experience. Those are the ways in which it's that practical application. You know how you go to the DMV to get your driver's license, and first you'll take the written test, right? To see if you have the correct information in your head, your intellect. Then they take you out and get in your car to make sure you have the practical experience. You know how to signal and make a left turn. You know how to merge onto the freeway, et cetera, et cetera. And then you get your driver's license. Well, you don't actually get any document, but you continually go out there, maybe use some grounding, maybe you face the sun with your eyes closed. Maybe you sit there and listen. Maybe you feel the breeze as it's blowing. In my case, in the wintertime when it snows, I'm out there shoveling snow and I'm feeling the cold. And yeah, it's cold, all right. But I love it. I mean, I had our first snowfall back in February, and I was just beside myself with joy. Um, you know, I didn't go nuts trying to clear our entire driveway. I just shoveled a path up to the street. That's all. I didn't need any more than that. And then I waited for the snows to stop to shovel off the car. But it was a new experience for me. I know there are people who move from the middle of the country, the northern part, where it snows all the time. They're tired of shoveling snow. Hey, come on out to the west. We got plenty of sunshine. But this move that my wife and I have made, you talk about gratefulness. I cannot tell you how grateful we are that the universe provided a way for us to do this, and also provided you to us here on the program to share your insights on coming home to nature.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And I've really enjoyed sharing with you. And yes, every season, even winter, has gifts to offer us if we can embrace them. And I
Absolutely.
have a chapter on that in my book.
Well, I hope people will pick up a copy of your book through your website, shantimayberry.com. Coming Home to Nature is the title of the book, and we hope that you will check that out. We are going to ask you 3 questions that we asked you the last time you were on the program. And I asked the same questions of the guests because sometimes the answers change and it's rather intriguing to find out. But before I do, I want to thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story. New paradigms for a new world, giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We're here on Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We also have podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and we're also on YouTube as well as Rumble. And we hope that you'll click subscribe and also notification. We ask you to go to Amazon to pick up a copy of my book, Choices, 5 Steps for Life. It's available in hardcover paperback as well as Kindle. And if you can help us out financially, we would be very grateful. We are thankful for those who are listening as well. We have a PayPal and a Zella account, and you use the email address richard@richarddugan.com on both of those, however you choose to support us financially. We thank you, thank you, thank you to those who have helped and to those who will help. And finally, we ask that you take some time to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to and follow the promptings of that still small voice. With all of that being said, we now move to our final three questions for a very special guest. And the first question is, who is Shanti Mayberry?
Yes, I remember your questions from before. And I would say, in essence, consciousness, loving awareness is my true nature, our inner nature, actually, the inner nature of all of us. And on the relative plane, I am a counselor, a nature therapist, an ecological psychologist, and meditation and movement practitioner. And I have an integrative natural health center with my acupuncture partner called Inner Balance Health Group. And I'm now an author of Come Home to Nature and a gardener.
What gets you up in the morning?
Well, yes, the sun pulls me out of bed and beckons me to go outside, which I do. It's always exciting to greet a new day and see what magic and what surprises are in store. So having that attitude, I think, of welcoming the surprises and the gifts of a new day is a really important way for me anyway to start the day in a positive spirit.
Mm. And finally, what was your best day?
My best day is today. It's now. And because everything is now, all the past, all the days of the past, some of which have been amazing, are present now. Uh, so I give thanks for this very day, this very moment.
Mm.
Uh, it's the best day because here I am.
Well, we're glad you're here, and we thank you so much for being a part of the work that we're doing here. And we also thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love to Lal. Jeanette, I'm still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Smokey, I'll see you on the other side. Mike, thanks for being in my life and letting me be in yours. To my brother Michael, welcome to fatherhood. And to my dear friend Zorro, aho, aho.